How did we get from here to here?
Chisum is accused of killing Danvers High School math teacher Colleen Ritzer. The 24-year-old is seen in released surveillance videos. It's chilling footage of her walking out of the frame and Chisum seemingly second-guessing himself in the proceeding to follow her into the bathroom. These are the last moments of her life.
Picture these young faces, barely out of adolescence, confronted with the harsh reality of a life behind bars.
The two young rape and robbery suspects, Maurice Randall and 18-year-old Anthony Hardy, had appeared in court before. They had heard the victim tell of her suffering at the hands of her attacker.
From brutal sexual acts,
I tried to fight, and I did for a little while, but I was exhausted, and he took advantage of me.
To cold-blooded murder.
Chisum accused of killing his 24-year-old math teacher, Colleen Ritzer.
Their crimes are both chilling and brutal.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on the camera.
It was worth it.
Brace yourself as we delve into the minds of these dangerous teens reacting to life sentences. Aubrey Gold. First, we have the disturbing case of Lauren Wombles, a former star who has found herself at the center of a murder investigation. This dangerous teen, known by her stage name Aubrey Gold, has been charged with helping to murder her boyfriend, whose decomposing body was discovered in a shallow grave. The details surrounding this case are both shocking and disturbing, involving drugs, money, and a web of deceit. In the world of adult entertainment, Aubrey Gold was a rising star, captivating audiences with her seductive performances. Aubrey Gold's journey into the adult entertainment industry began when she started sharing explicit content on social media platforms. Her provocative posts quickly gained attention, and she soon caught the eye of industry professionals. Aubrey Gold's career in adult films took off rapidly. She appeared in numerous productions, gaining a loyal fan base along the way. But as Aubrey's star continued to rise, her personal life began to unravel. Reports of her involvement in drugs and criminal activities started to surface, painting a darker picture of the young starlet. Aubrey's run-ins with the law became increasingly frequent, with a string of arrests dating back to 2018. As her troubled past continued to haunt her, a murder investigation unfolded, revealing a shocking web of deceit and betrayal. The victim was Raul Guillen, a 51-year-old man who had gone missing under mysterious circumstances. The investigation led to Aubrey Gold and two other individuals, her boyfriend William Parker and Jeremy Peters, who the police believed were involved in Raul Guillen's murder. The search for Raul Guillen took a grim turn when cadaver dogs led officers to a remote road near Graceville, Florida. There, buried in a shallow grave, they made a horrifying discovery. Raul Guillen's decomposing body was found, confirming the worst fears of his loved ones. As the investigation unfolded, the pieces of the puzzle started to come together. Detectives discovered evidence of a murder at multiple locations, including the home where Jeremy Peters lived. It became clear that Raul Guillen had been with the three suspects, including Aubrey Gold, on the night of his disappearance. The motive behind the murder was believed to be tied to drugs and money, a dangerous combination that often leads to violence. Aubrey Gold was charged with principal to murder, while William Parker faced charges of open murder, and Jeremy Peters was charged with accessory to murder and corpse abuse. The shocking details of the murder and the involvement of a former adult film star sent shockwaves through the community. The trial that would follow would captivate the media and the public, as the truth behind this heinous crime was revealed. The prosecution presented a compelling case, outlining the events that led to the murder of Raul Guillen. Witnesses testified to the involvement of Aubrey Gold, William Parker, and Jeremy Peters in the heinous crime. However, the defense argued that Aubrey was a victim herself, manipulated by the other defendants. She even testified against her boyfriend, trying to paint a picture of innocence.
He wanted me to chop him up and show you.
Why did he want you to do that?
To I don't know, see it all right.
Aubrey eventually pleaded no contest to one count of accessory after the fact to second-degree murder. For that, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Philip Chisum. First, we delve into the disturbing case of Philip Chisum, a high school freshman who committed an unthinkable crime that left the community in shock. At just 14 years old, Chisum brutally murdered his math teacher, Colleen Ritzer, in a school bathroom. The details of this crime are both shocking and horrifying, as Chisum followed Ritzer into the bathroom armed with a box cutter, robbing, raping, and ultimately killing her.
A Massachusetts grand jury has just indicted 14-year-old Philip Chisum of murder, aggravated rape, and armed robbery. Chisum accused of killing his 24-year-old math teacher, Colleen Ritzer.
On a seemingly ordinary day in October 2013, Danvers High School in Massachusetts halls were filled with the bustling energy of students and teachers. Little did anyone know that this day would forever be etched in their memories as the day a horrifying crime took place. Philip Chisum, a 9th grade student at the school, had recently moved from Tennessee to Danvers. He was relatively unknown, except for his reputation as a talented soccer player. However, there were whispers among some students that Chisum was antisocial and seemed really tired and out of it. It was later revealed that his mother was going through a difficult divorce, which may have contributed to his troubled state of mind. Colleen Ritzer, a 24-year-old math teacher, was known for her dedication and passion for teaching. She went above and beyond to help her students succeed, often staying after school to provide extra assistance. It was this dedication that led her to ask Chisum to stay after school that fateful day in October. She did not know the plot Chisum had put into motion days before. Armed with a box cutter, a mask, gloves, and a change of clothing, Chisum waited till the end of the school day to unleash his plans. He followed Ritzer into the bathroom where he brandished the box cutter, demanding her belongings. In a state of shock and fear, Ritzer complied, handing over her credit cards, iPhone, and even her underwear. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of the nightmare she was about to endure. Chisum's intentions were far more sinister than a simple robbery. He proceeded to brutally rape and stab Ritzer 16 times in the neck with the box cutter. The bathroom, once a place of safety, became a scene of unimaginable horror. In the midst of the attack, a female student entered the bathroom, catching a glimpse of the partially unclothed Chisum and the pile of garments on the floor. Assuming he was simply changing clothes, she quickly exited the bathroom, unaware of the true horror unfolding within. Chisum exited the bathroom and at different intervals calculatedly changed clothes to perhaps cover his tracks from the all-seeing eyes of the CCTV. At some point, Chisum re-entered the bathroom, this time pulling a recycling bin with him. He emerged wearing the white t-shirt and a black mask, dragging the bin containing Ritzer's lifeless body toward an elevator. With a cold and detached demeanor, he transported the bin outside of the school, dragging it all the way to a wooded area behind the school. In the secluded woods, Chisum sexually assaulted Ritzer's lifeless body once again, this time with a tree branch. The level of depravity displayed by Chisum was beyond comprehension. He then returned to the school wearing a black shirt and glasses, carrying a pair of bloody jeans, completing his macabre fashion show. The events leading up to the crime were marked by a chilling combination of planning, premeditation, and a complete disregard for human life. As the sun set on that fateful day, the absence of both Philip Chisum and Colleen Ritzer did not go unnoticed. Concerned friends and family reported them missing, setting off a chain of events that would lead to the unraveling of a horrifying crime. The investigation into Ritzer's disappearance began in earnest, with law enforcement officers combing through the school for any signs of foul play. It wasn't long before they discovered blood in the bathroom, Ritzer's bag, and a bloody recycling bin. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly coming together, pointing towards a sinister truth. The officers conducted a frisk search, looking for identification, and made a chilling discovery. Ritzer's credit card and driver's license were found on Chisum's person, solidifying his connection to the crime. Chisum was promptly taken into custody and transported to the local police station. A search of his backpack revealed further evidence, including Ritzer's purse and underwear, along with the box cutter covered in dried blood. When asked whose blood it was, Chisum chillingly replied, "It's the girl's." And when questioned about Ritzer's whereabouts, he callously stated, "She's buried in the woods." The investigation had come to a shocking conclusion. Philip Chisum, a seemingly ordinary high school freshman, was responsible for the brutal rape and murder of Colleen Ritzer. Chisum was indicted for the murder, aggravated rape, and armed robbery of Colleen Ritzer. As the trial began, the courtroom was filled with a palpable tension as the prosecution and defense prepared to present their cases. After careful consideration of the evidence and arguments presented, the jury reached a verdict. Philip Chisum was found guilty on all charges.
The court will impose the mandatory life sentence for the murder of Colleen Ritzer and set a parole eligibility date of 25 years, the highest level our law allows.
On February 26, 2016, Chisum was handed down a sentence of 25 years for the murder and 40 years and 1 day for the rape and robbery, to be served concurrently. Luis Reyes. Up next, we have the case of Luis Reyes, a dangerous teen whose actions have sent shockwaves through the community. Reyes, along with his accomplice Carlos Hernandez, was charged with attacking, raping, and attempting to smother an 89-year-old woman in her own home. However, it was his reaction to his sentence that really shocked everyone. It all started a week before the assault when the 89-year-old victim's house was broken into while she slept. Thieves, believed to be children, took advantage of the vulnerable woman's slumber and made off with various items, including a flashlight, some food, and even her beloved red Pontiac Sunfire. The audacity of the burglars was evident as they callously devoured the woman's snack cakes and left the wrappers scattered on her lawn. 14-year-old Luis Reyes Jr., 5-year-old Carlos Hernandez, along with their friend, 16-year-old Sean Mouse. These young boys, living in close proximity to the victim's house, were believed to be responsible for the break-in. But the story took a sinister turn when, on April 2, 2009, Reyes and Hernandez returned to the woman's home. The unsuspecting victim awoke to the nightmare unfolding in her own bedroom. The boys, with their faces concealed, launched a brutal attack on the defenseless elderly woman. The room became a battleground as the assailants mercilessly beat her, their blows raining down upon her frail body. The woman's pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears as the attackers ransacked her home, leaving destruction in their wake. To make things worse, they proceeded to sexually molest her in the most unspeakable way. The victim, unable to provide a detailed description of her attackers due to their masks, recounted the harrowing experience to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. She bravely revealed that it was Reyes, Hernandez, and another unidentified individual who had subjected her to this unimaginable horror. The community, living in fear and disbelief, was left to grapple with the shocking reality that such a heinous crime could occur in their midst. Neighbors, who had previously seen Reyes and his friends working on cars in the driveway, were struck by the sudden absence of activity. Still, they were apprehended, and Reyes and Hernandez, the two primary suspects, faced a multitude of charges, including burglary to a residence, grand theft auto, attempted first-degree murder, and sexual battery. Mouse, their accomplice in the break-in, was charged with grand theft auto and burglary. The gravity of their crimes extended beyond this case, as Reyes and Hernandez were also linked to burglaries in two Port Richey businesses. After the shocking assault on the 89-year-old woman, the community eagerly awaited the trial that would determine the fate of the perpetrators. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as Carlos Hernandez and Luis Reyes Jr., the two primary suspects, prepared to face the consequences of their heinous actions. As the trial unfolded, the prosecution presented a compelling case against the accused. The evidence was overwhelming, and the testimonies of witnesses painted a grim picture of the events that had transpired on that fateful day. As the judge pronounced the sentence of 30 years in prison, the reality of spending the rest of his life behind bars began to dawn on Reyes. As the courtroom emptied, Reyes was being escorted out, and that was when things got a little dramatic. He could be seen visibly enraged at his sentence, and it wasn't long before he tried being aggressive with the bailiff. His mother could be heard crying in the background, but that wasn't going to change the sentence in any way. Maurice Randall.
I tried to fight, and I did for a little while, but I was exhausted, and he took advantage of me.
Next, we delve into the disturbing case of Maurice Randall, a Detroit teenager whose heinous crimes have left a community in shock. Maurice, just 17 years old at the time, was convicted of a brutal rape and beating that targeted a defenseless 90-year-old woman in her own home. It all began on a fateful night in Detroit when a quiet neighborhood was shattered by a brutal act of violence. A 90-year-old woman whose identity was not provided was viciously attacked in her own home. The details of the crime are too graphic to share, but it is important to understand the timeline of events that led to Maurice Randall's arrest. 17-year-old Maurice Randall, 18-year-old Andrew Hardy, and a 15-year-old whose name was not released broke into the home of the 90-year-old elderly woman and viciously attacked in a robbery attempt. Like that wasn't bad enough, the teens committed the sickening act of sexual assault, not caring that she was weak and defenseless. The woman was found brutally beaten by a relative a day after the attack, and that was when the authorities were alerted. The incident sent shockwaves through the community, and the Detroit Police Department immediately launched a full-scale investigation. Detectives worked tirelessly, gathering evidence and interviewing witnesses in an effort to bring the perpetrator to justice. As the investigation unfolded, the community rallied together, showing an incredible display of support and solidarity. Hundreds of Detroiters took to the streets, canvassing neighborhoods and sharing information in the hopes of aiding the police in their search for the suspect. Fortunately, Randall and his accomplices were apprehended and placed in custody in relation to the assault and burglary. Maurice Randall, along with Hardy, were arraigned on charges of home invasion 1, criminal sexual conduct in the first degree, and intent to do great bodily harm. The news of the arrests brought a sense of relief to the community, knowing that those responsible for the horrific assault on the elderly woman were off the streets. However, the journey to justice was far from over. The trial began, and the courtroom was filled with tension and anticipation. The prosecution presented a compelling case, supported by a wealth of evidence and eyewitness testimonies. They presented a timeline of events that painted a chilling picture of Maurice Randall's actions on the night of the crime. The evidence showed that Maurice had carefully planned the attack, targeting the elderly woman's home and waiting for the opportune moment to strike. The prosecution also called upon expert witnesses who testified to the severity of the victim's injuries and the long-lasting trauma she would endure. Throughout the trial, Maurice Randall maintained a stoic expression, showing little emotion as the evidence against him mounted. It was clear that he was facing serious charges that could result in a life sentence. Finally, after weeks of testimonies and arguments, the trial came to a close. The jury deliberated and delivered their verdict. Maurice Randall was found guilty on all charges, including home invasion 1, criminal sexual conduct in the first degree, and intent to do great bodily harm. Maurice Randall, now facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars, sat silently, his face betraying no emotion. The judge began by recounting the details of the crimes and the impact they had on the victim and her family.
Not only did he rob her of her peace of mind, he took the joyous events that she had in her life and replaced them with a nightmare. Had her grandson not come, she would have died.
As the judge pronounced the sentence, the courtroom fell into a heavy silence. Maurice Randall had been sentenced to up to 60 years in prison, ensuring that he would spend the majority of his life behind bars. The impact of the sentence reverberated throughout the community, bringing a mix of relief and closure to those affected by the crimes. The victim's family, though still grappling with the trauma they had endured, found some solace in the knowledge that Maurice Randall would be held accountable for his actions. Delilah Evans.
Life in prison. A Clinton Township teenager will spend the rest of her life behind bars. She was found guilty of the murder of her own mother on Christmas Day in 2016.
It was a cold Christmas day in 2016 when tragedy struck the quiet town of Clinton Township in Macomb County. 45-year-old Sonia Reyes, a disabled mother who used a wheelchair, was found dead in her apartment with a horrifying 120 stab wounds. The perpetrator of this brutal crime, her own daughter, Delilah Evans, who was just 17 years old at the time. The authorities had been called to the apartment 3 times before for family trouble involving Delilah. It was clear that there were underlying issues within the family, but no one could have predicted the extent of the violence that would unfold. Delilah's brother was also a victim of her violent tendencies, suffering non-life-threatening injuries from a previous stabbing incident just 2 months before their mother's murder. The trial that followed was a harrowing experience for all involved. Delilah was found guilty but mentally ill in connection with her mother's killing.
She was hearing voices. She was seeing shadows. She was in bad shape. Psychologically.
The jury was shocked by the sheer brutality of the crime and the lack of remorse shown by the young defendant. The presiding judge, Richard Coretti, had no choice but to sentence Delilah to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I can't imagine how you could plunge a knife 120 times into your mother and raise the nurture you. Even considering your severe mental health issues, this senseless crime is mind-boggling.
As Delilah was led out of the courtroom, she showed no remorse, almost like she wasn't aware that she'd be spending the rest of her life in prison. The sentencing sent shockwaves through the community as people struggled to comprehend how a teenager could commit such a heinous act. The details of the crime were so gruesome that they seemed straight out of a horror movie. The sheer number of stab wounds inflicted on Sonia Reyes was beyond comprehension, leaving investigators and forensic experts stunned. Delilah's defense attorney, Joshua Jones, attempted to negotiate a plea deal with the prosecution, but the severity of the crime left little room for leniency. Ultimately, the case of Delilah Evans serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of violence and the importance of addressing the underlying issues that contribute to such acts. Sierra Halth.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After murdering Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Whoa! Don't put that on the camera.
Up next is the case of Sierra Halth, whose seemingly ordinary life took a sinister turn when she met Aaron Guerrero, a troubled young man with a shared fascination for violence. Together, they hatched a twisted plan to murder Sierra's own father, Daniel Halth, in a bid for freedom and control. Sierra Halth's journey into darkness can be traced back to her troubled upbringing. Born into a seemingly ordinary family, Sierra's childhood was marred by instability and dysfunction. Her parents' tumultuous relationship and frequent arguments created a volatile environment event that left a lasting impact on her young mind. As Sierra entered her teenage years, she began to exhibit signs of rebellion and a desire for control. She sought solace in the online world, immersing herself in the dark corners of the internet where violence and chaos reigned. It was here that she would meet Aaron Guerrero, a troubled young man who shared her fascination with the macabre. Their relationship quickly grew toxic, fueled by their shared desire to escape the confines of their troubled lives. Sierra and Aaron found solace in their shared fantasies of violence and rebellion, often discussing their darkest desires and plotting their escape from reality. Sierra's relationship with her father, Daniel Halth, became strained as she sought to assert her independence and break free from his perceived control over her life. The simmering tension between them would eventually reach a boiling point. On that fateful day in April 2021, Sierra and Aaron executed their chilling plan to murder Daniel Halth. Armed with knives and a chilling determination, they entered his Las Vegas home, leaving behind a scene of horror that would shock the nation. Daniel Halth was stabbed and cut 70 times, and his corpse along with the house was discovered burnt. Aside from that, the young couple stole from him, leaving with his car and debit card. The community was left grappling with the shocking reality that such evil could exist within their midst. How could two teenagers be capable of such brutality? The nation was left searching for answers, trying to make sense of the senseless. The trial that followed was a harrowing ordeal for all involved. Sierra and Aaron were both charged with first-degree murder, and the evidence against them was overwhelming. The prosecution presented a meticulously built case, showcasing the chilling planning and execution of the crime. Throughout the trial, the courtroom was filled with tension and a palpable sense of horror. The details of the crime were laid bare, leaving those in attendance shaken to their core. As the trial progressed, the true nature of Sierra and Aaron's characters came to light. The duo had even confessed to the murder on camera.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After murdering day 3 after murdering somebody.
Whoa! Don't put that on the camera.
The defense attempted to paint a picture of troubled youth, arguing that Sierra and Aaron were products of their tumultuous upbringings. Sierra also brought up allegations of sexual abuse, stating that her father not only abused her sexually and physically, but also pushed her to drink alcohol. However, the prosecution countered with a powerful argument, highlighting the premeditation and cold-bloodedness of the crime. Eventually, Sierra and Aaron were found guilty of first-degree murder, and the judge handed down a sentence that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years.
On count 2, you're going to be sentenced to life in the Nevada Department of Corrections with the possibility of parole after 20 years has been served.
Sierra's reaction to her life sentence was chilling. Unlike Aaron, who visibly broke down in tears behind her, she displayed a disturbing lack of empathy as the judge delivered the verdict. Shayla Hernandez Rivas.
15-year-old Shayla Hernandez Rivas received her sentence today. I'm Ariana Bennett.
I'm Ryan Canaday. Thanks for joining us. The judge ruled she is to serve 50 years in jail to be eligible for parole after 20 years.
In a shocking and tragic case that has captured national attention, we delve into the story of Shayla Hernandez Rivas, who found herself at the center of a deadly altercation with her classmate, 14-year-old Chloe Edwards. What began as a planned fistfight quickly escalated when Hernandez Rivas brought a knife to the confrontation. On February 19th of 2023, a quiet neighborhood in Reno, Nevada, was shaken by a tragic incident that would forever change the lives of two families. It all began with a deep-seated animosity between Shayla Hernandez Rivas and Chloe Edwards, both students at North Valleys High School. The ill will between Shayla and Chloe had been brewing for quite some time. The tension between them had escalated to the point where they agreed to meet and settle their differences in a physical confrontation. Little did anyone know that this encounter would turn deadly. As the fateful day approached, emotions ran high. Shayla, a 15-year-old with a troubled background, made a fateful decision. She walked out of her house, concealing a deadly weapon, a knife, in her back pocket. Unbeknownst to her, this decision would have devastating consequences. The atmosphere was tense as the two girls faced each other, ready to engage in a physical altercation. It was a classic case of a fistfight, but Shayla had brought a knife to the confrontation. As the fight ensued, chaos erupted. In a matter of seconds, Shayla pulled out the knife and struck Chloe with a fatal blow. Emergency services were called, and Chloe was rushed to the hospital in critical condition where she unfortunately passed away. Law enforcement swiftly intervened, apprehending Shayla and initiating initiating an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident. The evidence collected painted a grim picture of the events that transpired that day. 3 phone cameras and ring cameras captured the fight, providing a chilling visual record of the confrontation. The courtroom was filled with tension as the trial of Shayla Hernandez Rivas commenced. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Christopher Hicks, argued that Hernandez Rivas should be treated as an adult due to the severity of her actions. Prosecutor Travis Lucia presented a compelling case, highlighting the calculated nature of Hernandez Rivas's conduct and her apparent revelry in the outcome. To provide insight into Hernandez Rivas's mental state, the defense called upon forensic psychologist Dr. Martha Mahaffey to testify on behalf of the defendant. Dr. Mahaffey described Hernandez Rivas as emotionally and psychologically immature for her age, with a low IQ. She argued that Hernandez Rivas had no understanding of the risks involved in accepting the challenge to fight. Prosecutor Travis Lucia, in his oral arguments, countered the defense's claims. He emphasized that the videos of the fight, which were not shown in court but viewed by the judge, provided undeniable evidence of Hernandez Rivas's intentions and actions. Lucia pointed out that while Chloe fought for her life in an ambulance, Hernandez Rivas was captured on body cam footage saying, "I got that." The impact statements delivered by Chloe's family further underscored the devastating consequences of Hernandez Rivas's actions. Alexis Lepp, Chloe's sister, expressed her profound grief and the lasting impact of losing her beloved sibling. She lamented the limited number of photos she had with Chloe and the pain of not being able to create more memories together. Erica Rivas, Hernandez Rivas's mother, testified on behalf of her daughter, vehemently denying that she was a bully. She claimed that Chloe was the instigator and that evidence supporting her daughter's innocence had been withheld during the court proceedings.
If she felt like she needed to pull out that knife and defend herself so that it wouldn't be the one, so that she wouldn't be the one dead, I stand behind her.
After considering all the evidence and impact statements, Judge Kathleen Drakulik delivered the sentence. She acknowledged the video evidence that captured the entire incident, expressing her astonishment that such a tragedy had been recorded. She sentenced Hernandez Rivas to 50 years in prison. The judge emphasized that the 15-year-old must serve the first 20 years before being eligible for parole. As we conclude this video of dangerous teens reacting to life sentences, we are left with a chilling reminder of the capacity for darkness within some individuals, even at a young age. Each serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of such actions and the importance of seeking justice for the victims. For more intriguing videos like this, click on the cards showing on your screen and I'll be waiting.